Hey everyone, it's Gabriel here again and welcome back to my channel. And today I want to talk about how to manage and deal with difficult clients. Now, if you are in the service business, if you are an agency, a consulting, a coaching where you deal with clients on a day-to-day basis, it is inevitable that you are going to have to deal with difficult clients. So today I want to share with you guys through my past 7 years of experience running a marketing agency and many other service business. I've been in sales for over 14 years, and over my years I've learned how do I even identify difficult clients, how do I limit them, and ultimately even if they do get through my doors, how do I manage and how do I deal with them? And these are some of the things I learned through my own experience, and I hope it will help you. So first of all, before we even go about how do we manage and limit the difficult clients, I want to first say that the most important thing that you want to do before you even deal with a difficult client is to have an extreme ownership mindset. So in our company, one of our core value is extreme ownership. And what is extreme ownership? Extreme ownership is taking ownership over everything, even when you are not in control, and even when at times everything seems like it is your client's fault, okay? Even when you are not to blame, like 100%, you really believe that you're not to blame, but you can still take ownership over what could be improved or what could you have done better. It's very easy for us to just simply blame our clients and just say that it is 100% their fault, right? It is their personality, it's who they are overly demanding or whatsoever. And the problem with putting the blame 100% on the client is that you ultimately learn nothing from it, because in order for you to learn something from it and to improve and to be better, you have to take ownership. And this happened just a couple of months ago. We actually had a client that we ultimately had to give a refund. It was a very difficult client to deal with. And what happened was that we generally have a criteria of clients that we bring in, and somehow my salesperson for this particular client didn't do as particularly a great job in filtering the kind of clients that we do not want. And so this person managed to get through. And what happened was that we started to use our usual onboarding process. We'll have a call with them, we'll collect assets from them because we are a marketing agency, we need to collect creative assets, testimonials, or any branding information they have. We'll go through that process, and then we'll go through the process of creating accounts and creating softwares for them, setting up all the things for them, and then ultimately creating all the creatives needed, such as video scripts, funnels, and all that. It was just a simple process that we go through for many of our clients so far for the past 5 years. And a lot of our clients who are doing multiple seven figures had no problem with this onboarding process. I didn't expect that someone will be so upset over every single step of the process. I'm not kidding you, it was literally a client that had a problem with the way we onboard, and we never had an issue with that. Had a problem with the way we collect information from her, okay? I don't want to go too much into details, but had a problem with that. And then had a problem with the way we create all the different assets. And then when we finally got down to the fourth step where we started creating some video script for her, she also had a problem with that. So it was literally someone that had problem with every single step. And I never had this same problem with many of our clients. So naturally, the ego in me came out, and I wanted to just blame everything on her, and it's probably her fault, it's probably her expectation. And true enough, when I started to ask her more questions, I realized that she had an anxiety about the entire project, okay? Because it's not cheap to hire us because we are a high-level agency, and it costs at least you generally about 50K to 100K just the setup fee to work with us, not even including ad budget and the retainers that you're gonna pay later on. And this person was generally having a lot of anxiety, and normally when you are in a state of anxiety, you tend to just get overly concerned about every single thing. When I get down deeper into her anxiety and ask her like, why do you feel that way? She told me that because what she invested with us was like a significant portion of her life savings, and she needed this to work. Now, immediately I knew that was a red flag, because as much as I'm not trying to say that 50K or 100K is a small amount, it is definitely not a small amount, but generally the kind of customers that we bring in are doing seven figures or multi-seven figures and above, or maybe even 8 figures. And paying $100,000 isn't much, it's just like 10% of their revenue a year, or even lesser if you're doing multi-seven figures. And the thing is that it is not life and death situation. It is not a small money, but it's not a life and death situation where they feel like losing $100,000 is the end of their life, okay? So we only take in clients like that, right? So that's also why I said that it's also important to have a certain criteria to select the kind of clients that you want to bring in to limit the kind of difficult clients. And I'll talk about that a bit more later on. So what happened was that I found out that it was a red flag because she was making a big deal out of that. And she only invested about $50,000. So she made a big deal out of that. And I knew that immediately this is not the kind of clients that we usually take in. So we knew that the right thing to do was to give a full refund. And it wasn't something common that we do because we've already incurred losses by doing all the stuff for her within the first month. But we felt it was the right thing to do because she wasn't the right kind of client. So we finally gave her a refund and everything ended. And obviously, so it's very easy for me to say that this is not the right client and therefore she had a lot of problem with our system. There's nothing wrong with my system, okay? Instead of saying that, I actually had a meeting with my team. So even though we gave a refund and this person we've already identified is not our client, we sat down, we had a meeting, and I asked my team, what do you think we can learn from this experience? And in fact, even when I went to check through her messages of what she sent us when she was unhappy about the onboarding process, I felt some of that was quite legit, which means that even though she was not the right kind of client, I felt that some of the comments make sense. Okay, yeah, this part we could have done better, this part we could have done better, the way we asked her for the information could have been better, the way we communicate could have been better, maybe we could create a better script. When we send her the video script, the way we show her and present to her the things that we have done could have been better as well. And guess what? My entire team went on to change the way we present, they went on to elevate the experience of our clients. Sometimes we could be in a state where it's so easy for us just to blame the clients, even when the client is clearly not the kind of client we want. But always take up this mindset of extreme ownership. What can I learn from this experience? What are the things that they say are constructive feedback? Some things we did throw out the window, but some things we felt, yeah, it makes sense, we could actually have done it better. So remember to have the mindset to always have this extreme ownership, to take up ownership over everything and to own it, okay? So with that out of the way, why do we even have difficult clients? The first thing is not setting the right restriction or the right criteria to prevent these clients from coming in. So that example that I just shared with you was one example. You need to have a certain level of criteria because you're not supposed to serve everyone. Okay, trying to serve everyone is where you will not be able to meet the expectation of different kinds of people. Someone who doesn't have a business, okay, like for the lady example, she said that the 50,000 was a huge chunk of her life savings because it was later on we realized that she didn't even have a business to begin with in the first place. She had a business 10 years ago, then she stopped the business, and so I think that was where my salesperson thought that she had a business, but actually she didn't have a business for over 10 years. She wasn't the kind of clients that we want to take in the first place. We realized that different people have different expectations, where a non-business owner who's trying to bank on us, trying to bet on us to change her life, doesn't have a business owner mindset. A business owner has a different mindset. A business owner who is doing 7 figures and 8 figures a year, they know the idea of risk. They understand that there's no such thing as 100%. They understand that everything there is uncertainty and they embrace uncertainty. They are not always out to look for some kind of guarantee, okay? Because they know that in life there's no such thing as guarantee. There are some types of guarantee that you can create in your offer, but a lot of times there are things that you cannot guarantee because there's so many uncertainties, so many other factors involved. We know that if we try to serve everyone, we will not be able to meet the expectation of a lot of people, right? Because a business owner versus a non-business owner, their expectations are different. So know who you are serving and create a very strong criteria. Now, at the beginning, your criteria is not going to be very well thought out because if you're just starting a business, you don't even know what you do not know. So these are things that we refine over time, right? As we start serving some clients, we realize, this is a client that I thought was good, but eventually it wasn't. And I would again take extreme ownership and ask myself, why? What could we have done better for this client? And after we have exhausted asking that question, then we ask ourselves, okay, is this the kind of client that we want to take in the future? And yes, no, why? And we try to be less emotional about it and just be very objective. Okay, this kind of industry, maybe we don't take this kind of industry, or we don't take this kind of clients who don't even hit a certain revenue, because if they never hit a certain revenue, they don't even have the right mindset, right? These are just examples, but basically through this experience, we create a list of criteria and we started adding more criteria, or we started replacing certain criteria and update those criteria over time. So because of that, we will usually do like an interview process for clients that we want to take on. And through the interview process, if we notice a few clients with multiple red flags, that's an immediate no. And sometimes, yes, you gotta say no to money because, and I grew up as an entrepreneur, people will say, why say no to money? No, sometimes you gotta say no to money, right? Because saying yes to certain money invites a lot of trouble, invites more losses for you in the future. So understand that the reason why you have difficult clients is because, first of all, you didn't even filter the right people to come in the first place, and have a certain criteria so that you know who you want to work with. Even after you have done this, you have limited the number of difficult clients, they are still going to come in because, as I said earlier, you do not know what you do not know. So there will be some difficult clients that will pass through your interview process. So then how do you actually deal with them? The base of why people are difficult in the first place really boils down to this thing called expectation. The reason why sometimes clients can be difficult is because there's an expectation that they are expecting and their expectation is not met. And the worst thing is that you don't even know what they are expecting, or there's certain assumption to their expectation. It's super important that at the onboarding process of every single client is to set the expectation of what you can do and what you cannot do. Be extremely detailed and specific with that. Okay, don't leave anything to assumption. So again, these are things that as you gain experience over time, you're gonna get more and more experience on what are some things that people expect, what are some common assumptions that people have, and then you start to add this into your onboarding process to set expectation. Now when we do an onboarding, we will tell them, hey, we'll just be upfront with you, these are the things that we can do for you, and these are the things that we cannot do for you. And we have an agreement right now that is very well thought out compared to 2 years ago, and we're constantly changing that every 3 months based on the things that we are facing on a day-to-day basis. Okay, setting expectation specifically all the way to even replying time, right? Because some clients expect you to reply within 30 minutes or within 1 hour. So set an expectation. For example, we will say that our working hours is from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. That's where our team will reply on a weekday. And then we will reply usually within 1 hour or 2 hours or whatever business you're in, how long does it take for you to reply. So set this expectation so that there is no assumption. Now, it's also important that when you set this expectation and these boundaries, okay, especially boundaries, for example, for our company, we don't work on a weekend because I treasure family time and I want my employees to treasure family time. But you must understand that not every client has the same value. So sometimes they will test this boundary. So we'll say that on weekends, we'll likely not reply. However, if something really urgent, you can still give us a call, right? Because we understand that as much as we don't work on weekends, there are some things that are urgent, there are some things that need certain confirmation, okay? So we'll set these boundaries. Now, once we have set this boundary, trust me, your clients, especially if they don't share the same value as you, they are going to test this boundary. So the next thing you want to do is to hold your ground. So what I mean by that is, if let's say I don't work on a Sunday, okay, I generally don't reply or answer call on a Sunday. My team does. Sometimes my team will handle certain urgent things. But let's say the client were to give me a call. If I were to pick up the call and answer the call, what would that imply? Guess what? A new boundary has been set because the client will test the boundary and hey, you did pick up the phone on Sunday. So the next time the client will call you on a Sunday, guess what? The client is going to expect that you are going to pick up on a Sunday. Even though on the onboarding process, you already told the client you're not going to answer on a Sunday. But because your actions says differently, your actions shows that, hey, you're willing to pick up your phone on a Sunday, guess what? The next time they call on a Sunday again and you don't reply or you don't answer, they are going to be extremely upset. Now, I use this Sunday as an example, but it can be anything, right? It can be anything that you set a boundary, but you don't hold your ground. Now, does that mean that if you set these rules and you're just very rigid, and what if really you need to answer a phone call on a Sunday? Then remember to communicate every single time. Communicate that this is a one-time exception. And if you don't do that, you're going to get yourself into a lot of trouble. So what I mean by that is that if I do pick up a phone on Sunday and I already communicated I do not answer on a Sunday, then I will just say that, hey, you know what? It's actually my family day. However, today is an exception because I know this is an urgent thing that needs to be done. So I'm going to, and then you tell them what you need to do. Okay? So you communicate first that this is an exception and in the future you may not pick up. Now this is super common, especially in the service industry where, especially our agency, where client will ask for all kinds of stuff. And I'll share with you a real life story. I have one offer, which is like a consulting offer where people pay our company a certain amount of money and then they get some kind of consultation with my team. They get more priority support, one-on-one support with our software. And so let's say they have a problem with their ad account, they can actually jump on a one-on-one call with our experts, but they have to book in advance. So they book usually like 12 hours, 24 hours in advance. So there's a list of things that we promise. We will help them to set up their funnels, we help them to write their video script, we'll have priority support where they can text and WhatsApp someone, okay? It's WhatsApp, not a call. And then there's one-on-one priority support where they can book an expert in advance, like a Facebook ad expert, or if let's say they have problem with their funnels, then they can book a call with a funnel expert. But they have to book 12 hours to 24 hours in advance. All these are communicated right from the start, as well as a group call with me where I jump on a group call every week where you can jump on to ask questions and I'll answer questions. Out of all these 5 things, there was one client that we fulfill all of them, right? We wrote the script and we did all the one-on-one calls, we created the funnels, and we did everything here. And what happened was that previously I had a relationship manager that was managing this client. And this person was very nice. What happened was that out of the things that we promised, we did not promise a 24-hour support call, right? We did not promise that. But what happened was that this client was having some anxiety and the funnel was not working whatsoever. And so this person gave a call to my relationship manager. And I think it was like a late at night call or something like that. And what happened was this, gave a call, my relationship manager being very nice, picked up the call and proceed to help this client of mine solve the issues that this client was facing. Now again, very nice of him to do that, right? In fact, I was very appreciative when he did that. But the problem was that he did not communicate. It's a one-time exception. What happened was that every time from here on, this client will call him and would expect my relationship manager to start answering. So he started doing this to a few of my clients, and guess what? It reached a stage where my relationship manager becomes burnt out, right? Because he's just answering call all the time. And I already told him, do not answer. Communicate to them that we don't do that. It's not part of our priority support, right? We don't do 24-hour support call. But he was very nice. He picked up the call, and guess what? This client started to have expectation. And one of them reached to a point where eventually we decided to stop this, right? Because this wasn't even part of the deal in the first place. There was no 24-hour support call. And we decided to be very upfront, hold our ground and say, we do not offer 24-hour support call, right? If you need help, you need to book a one-on-one call. This client of ours became so upset. He jumped on a one-on-one call with one of our team members and proceed to say that, we have cheated her and that we lied to her, and she felt, this is exactly what she said, she felt cheated because we are not supporting her. And you know what I was thinking? Everything we promised, all the 5 things we promised, we have delivered. And some of it we even over-delivered. The only thing we did not promise is a 24-hour priority support. But the reason why she started expecting that was because we did it, we did not communicate it was a one-time thing, we did not communicate it was an exception. From then onwards, it became a new assumption, a new expectation that she had. Now again, this can be anything else, right? So it could be like our client expect us, or our client asked us, can you write these 2 emails for us, right? It wasn't part of the deal, but it said, can you write these 2 emails for us? And my team very nice, said, okay, yeah, because it's just 2 simple emails, right? How can it hurt? So they wrote for this client of ours. Guess what? The next time they're gonna start asking again, can you write these 2 emails for me? Can you write these 4 emails for me? And when we say no, you say, the previous time you wrote for me. And I'm not saying don't go the extra mile for your client. Please go the extra mile for your client, but always communicate to them every value that you are doing, you are giving, that's not part of the original contract. So now what we do is, every single time, say if they ask us to write 2 emails, we will say, normally this is how much we charge for 2 emails, $600, $1,000 or whatever. But for this one-time exception, we're not gonna charge you and we're gonna write for you. But in the future, we may have to charge you. So by communicating that, your clients do not naturally assume and expect that this is gonna be free forever. So that helps you to not be burnt out. But the second thing is that they now can see the value, because if you did not communicate the value, they're not gonna see that. I learned in my early days of sales and marketing that the most important thing isn't just to provide value. What's more important to provide value is to communicate that value. If you provide a value, but your client has no idea the value that was provided, they're not gonna be appreciative of that value that you have given them. Just by doing that, we really eliminated a lot of difficult clients. Now if they ask us for the second time or third time, because we already communicated it's a one-time exception and that usually it costs X, Y, Z value. Now we can say, oh, okay, no problem. If you want us to do this for you, we will have to invoice you this X, Y, Z amount. Is that okay for you? And because we already communicated that previously, we already said it's a one-time exception. Now they can choose to pay or not, and there's no assumption that or expectation that we were supposed to do it, okay? And one last thing on how to deal with difficult clients is to listen and have empathy. A lot of times let's say the client is upset about certain things, and sometimes even though we feel that it's not our fault and we want to jump on a call with them and we try to argue or fight our case, we're prepared for that. I think a lot of times before you even do that, it's important to listen to your client and have empathy and really try to understand where are they coming from. Now, this is easier said than done because today I still face this problem and this issue all the time. But if you can do this, I promise you, you're gonna see a lot less difficult client, or even turn a difficult client into a client that really appreciates you. Here's a true story. I have a client, not gonna say names because this client has been with me for a long time. And initially this client feels like he's someone very difficult, right? He's a bit more of a perfectionist, and things that we submit, he always have problem with it and stuff like that. And we felt like he didn't really appreciate what we are doing for him, even though we were generating amazing results, okay? But he's always pinpointing on like small little things and basically just giving a lot of like feedback about things that we could have improved, and just kept doing that even though we were giving him good results. So one day I jump on a call with him and I listen to him. I say that, can I have a call with you just to understand the expectation you have of us so that we can serve you better, right? So always come from a point of view of like, how can I serve you better? And so on a call, I started listening. I started asking, hey, that time you asked us about this, you give us feedback about that. What do you mean by this? What do you mean by that? So I started asking this question and really listening with the intent to understand instead of the intent to reply. And as they are telling me, so for example, I'll tell this person, hey, give this feedback about this video script that we have given you, and you mentioned this feedback in the WhatsApp chat. Can you just elaborate a bit more about what do you mean by this? Okay, and then really listen. So ask specifically, what do you mean by this? What do you mean by this? And listen. And if you find yourself in a situation where you don't really understand what they mean, try to fish out more information, right? And this is a negotiation skills that I learned from this book called Never Split the Difference. Okay, two very powerful ways to communicate is number one called, I think it's called mirroring, where you just repeat the last thing that they said. So if they say that the ad cost has been very high recently, very high, so you just repeat the last one or two words. Compared to how I was running ads in 2015, the ads is very expensive right now, right? So then basically I'm drawing out more information, and then I realized that this person isn't saying that the ad cost is high. He was just expecting the ad cost to be the same as 2015, which is not possible, right? But before I get down to that, before I even understand why is he thinking this way, there's no way I can address the root of the problem if I don't listen in the first place. The next thing is to have empathy. Try to put yourself in their shoe and try to understand how they're feeling or where they're coming from in this position. A lot of times the method to do that I use is just by simply labeling how they're feeling or labeling what they're saying, or try to sum up what they're saying. So for example, this person is complaining about high ad costs or this or that. I'll say, okay, it sounds like you are not very happy with the current results, or you're not happy with the current cost per lead. So what happens is that when you do, it sounds like, and then you proceed to describe how they're feeling or what they're saying. It can go both ways, right? You get it right, they will feel like you understood what they mean, right? They'll feel like, hey, yeah, okay, yeah, this is how I feel right now. So then, because they feel like they are being heard, okay, they are more willing to be cooperative instead of being difficult with you. Now, the good thing about this is that even if it goes the other side, which means that it's not what they're really trying to communicate, you actually make them clarify, because let's say I say, it sounds like you're not very happy with this. They might end up saying that, no, it's not unhappy. I'm just giving feedback because that's just how I am as a person. I always look at what I can improve. What happens is that you give them a chance to clarify. And what that does is that it allows you to understand them more. And then from there you can say, oh, okay, so it sounds like you're not unhappy, but you are just someone that are always finding ways to improve. Does that sound right? You can just repeat what they say again, right? But the whole point is that even if it goes sideways, even if it's not what you were really trying to communicate, you are giving them opportunity to clarify. And if you are really listening, you can really understand their intent. And that's what happened to the client that I was just talking about, because I went to say, sounds like you are unhappy with the results that we have been giving because we have been giving all this feedback. And because I was able to say that, he was able to correct himself and say, no, it's not that at all, Gabriel. And then he proceeded to share with us how appreciative he is about the things that we have done. He told me that, Gabriel, don't get me wrong, I'm actually very appreciative of what you have done. And then he proceeded to tell us how grateful he is. He even said that he has engaged so many different marketers before, and none of them come close, even close, to the value that we are able to provide and the kind of quality leads we are able to generate. So he's definitely not upset about the results. He's actually very happy with the results, but it's just who he is. And then he further clarified himself that who he is as a person is always someone that is always looking at ways to improve and looking at ways to optimize. And that's why he's always very focused on sending us all this feedback so that he can optimize the result to make it better. And you know what? After listening to that, first of all, I felt a lot more motivated that this guy actually appreciates what we do, right? And he's not sharing it out of fear or whatever. He was really genuinely sharing, I could tell. And because of that, I also started to understand who he is as a person. And then from here onwards, there was no more problem, right? Even when he gave a feedback whatsoever, because we understood where is he really coming from, there was no problem from here onwards. And of course, I think he knew that because of that conversation we have, every time he delivered feedback, he will try to find ways to present it better or to make it sound better so that it doesn't sound like a negative feedback, like he's trying to find fault with us or something like that. And this client turns out to be a client that has been with us for years. And until today, sometimes we will still hang out, we will still talk, and we are like friends outside of work. And one of the clients that I enjoy working with for quite a long time. I can tell you that, just by listening and having empathy, right, you can actually turn a difficult client into a collaborative client and someone that you might even enjoy working with in the long run. So I'm just gonna give a quick summary of what we have covered so far. Number one, have extreme ownership. Always ask yourself, even when things seems like you are not at fault, ask yourself, what can I learn from this experience? how can I make things better? How can I do things better? Always set expectation and reset expectation. When you set boundaries, remember to hold your ground, and when you do make exception, remember to communicate that exception and communicate every value that you are providing for your client. And lastly, learn to listen and have empathy and try to understand where is your client really coming from. And if you do that properly, you can turn a difficult client into a collaborative client. I also want to take this time to share with you guys our Salesforce software. So if you're thinking about creating a system or funnel to generate higher quality leads or to capture more leads, we have a software called Salesforce. There's a white label version of high level. But the thing that we did differently was that we have one software called Sales Writer. It is a copywriting software that does the research about your customer before writing all the copywriting for you. And the other thing is we also have all the fill in the blank copy template built directly into our Salesforce platform. So if you are creating a funnel, we have a lot of proven funnel templates. For example, you're creating a webinar funnel or you're creating an application funnel, we already have these funnels built into your account, and you can just simply clone it out, and there's already fill in the blank copy that is in the funnel itself. So all you gotta do is just fill in the blank based on the framework that I just taught you. We have a fill in the blank copy that you can just use if you are our Salesforce user. So I hope this video has added value to you so far. Let me know in the comment section what is your biggest takeaway, and let me know, do you deal with difficult clients, and what are some of the things that you have learned today that you could actually apply and start to manage those difficult clients. Remember to like and subscribe to this channel, as this will help me push this video out to more people and will encourage me to do more video like this. So that's all I have for you guys today. Bye for now.